Once upon a time. The Guardians of the Green White Green. Chapter 1, The Dreamers. The story begins in various parts of Nigeria with a diverse group of politicians, men and women, young and old, each with a strong personal reason for wanting to change the country. We meet Aisha, a young woman from Kano whose family struggles with healthcare costs, Benga, a former teacher from Lagos who's passionate about education reform, and Chidi, a small business owner from Anambra who wants to cut down government bureaucracy for entrepreneurs. These characters are united by one thing, a burning vision of a better Nigeria. They meet by chance at a political forum in Abuja, and while discussing the country's problems, they realize they share the same frustrations and goals. Though they come from different backgrounds and political parties, they decide to form a coalition called the Guardians of the Green White Green. Chapter 2, The First Battle. The coalition faces skepticism and outright opposition from within their own parties and from established political figures who benefit from the status quo. They struggle to get people on their side, some see them as idealists, while others view them as a threat to their power. Benga proposes they start with education reform, a neutral topic. The group comes up with a plan to improve schools, increase teacher salaries, and provide scholarships for low-income students. However, they encounter resistance from officials who benefit from corruption in the education sector. The politicians know that this isn't just about policy, they're up against a well-oiled machine of greed. Despite the challenges, they launch a campaign to engage citizens, holding town hall meetings, going door to door, and spreading their message through social media. Slowly, they build a network of supporters across the country. Chapter 3, The Price of Change. As the Guardians gain influence, they face more personal challenges. Aisha's family is threatened by anonymous forces, warning her to back down. Chidi is offered a bribe to drop the group's agenda in exchange for a high-paying contract. Benga's wife begins to worry about their safety, fearing for their children's future. The coalition members realize that they must each make personal sacrifices if they want to achieve their goals. Instead of backing down, they become more determined. Aisha calls a press conference, revealing the threats she's received. Her courage inspires others, and citizens begin rallying in support of the coalition, chanting for justice and transparency. Chapter 4, The Long Road. With the backing of citizens, the Guardians manage to push forward their educational reforms, seeing modest success. But their work is far from over. They now focus on anti-corruption measures, pushing for transparency and accountability in all sectors. Their opponents, feeling cornered, start launching smear campaigns and accusing the Guardians of personal misconduct. The coalition responds with transparency, disclosing their finances and inviting journalists to investigate them. Over time, their actions earn the trust of the Nigerian people, who recognize the Guardians as leaders genuinely committed to the public good. Chapter 5, Winds of Change. The Guardians' impact becomes visible, schools are better funded, roads are being repaired, healthcare is more accessible, and local industries are receiving government support. Their coalition has grown stronger, with new members joining their cause, inspired by their dedication and success. The Guardians are no longer viewed as idealists but as leaders with real influence. Elections approach, and the coalition decides to field candidates under a new political party that stands for the people. Despite heavy opposition from established parties, they win several seats across the country, giving them more power to push through reforms. Chapter 6, The New Dawn. Years pass, and the coalition's impact reshapes the Nigerian political landscape. Corruption is no longer the norm, and citizens feel empowered to demand accountability from their leaders. While Nigeria's transformation is not complete, the Guardians have laid a solid foundation for future generations. The story ends with Aisha, Benga, and Chidi meeting to discuss their next plans. They know there's much work to be done, but they are hopeful. They have proven that change is possible, and that Nigeria can rise above its challenges with the right leaders at the helm. Chapter 7, Shadows in the System. With their recent successes, the Guardians gain a growing list of allies and enemies. A powerful politician known only as Chief Kaza, who thrives on corruption, sees the Guardians as a threat to his control. he begins plotting to dismantle their coalition by infiltrating their ranks. Unbeknownst to the Guardians, a spy has already joined their team, feeding information to Kaza. Meanwhile, Chidi suspects something is off within the coalition as sensitive plans begin leaking. But when he tries to raise the issue, he faces doubt and questions from within. Trust starts to fray, and the unity that once held the Guardians together begins to falter. Chapter 8: The Price of Loyalty. As tension builds, the coalition faces a shocking blow. Benga is arrested on fabricated charges of embezzling funds. Chief Kaza's network has carefully planted evidence, turning the media against him and sparking public outrage. Benga's reputation is in tatters, and the Guardians cause risks falling apart without his leadership. Aisha and Chidi scramble to defend Benga's innocence, working tirelessly to gather evidence. But each time they come close, their witnesses mysteriously disappear or change their stories. In a final, desperate move, they receive a message from a high-ranking official within the government willing to help, but at a price. To free Benga, they must compromise on their own policies, betraying some of their principles. Will they take the deal to save Benga, or stand firm in their values and risk losing him? Chapter 9: The Trap Unleashed. After intense deliberation, the Guardians decide to refuse the deal, choosing integrity over compromise. In retaliation, Chief Kaza unleashes a smear campaign, accusing Aisha of ties to foreign powers and Chidi of corruption in his businesses. Their support begins to wane as citizens start doubting their intentions. In a twist, Aisha receives a cryptic message from an anonymous ally offering crucial evidence against Chief Kaza and his network. Despite knowing it might be a trap, Aisha and Chidi decide to meet this informant in a secluded location. When they arrive, they find themselves cornered by armed men. But just as all hope seems lost, a loyal faction within the military, secretly supportive of the Guardians, intervenes and helps them escape. They realize they must be more careful as their enemy is far more dangerous than they thought. Chapter 10: A New Dawn, A Darker Path. Regaining some of the evidence they need, the Guardians reveal parts of Chief Kaza's corruption to the public. The revelation sparks outrage, and citizens across the country demand justice. Chief Kaza, sensing his influence slipping, makes a final desperate move. He threatens to dismantle everything the Guardians have worked for unless they abandon their mission and dissolve the coalition. In a final, high-stakes confrontation, the Guardians make a strategic play, working with allies in law enforcement and the military to bring Chief Kaza to justice. In a stunning climax, the people stand with the Guardians, and Kaza's empire of corruption collapses. However, the victory comes with a price. Some members of the coalition have been pushed to their limits, and the path ahead remains uncertain. But with the foundations of a better Nigeria firmly set, the Guardians stand ready to face whatever comes next, proving that even in the darkest times, hope and unity can lead to a brighter future.